Hi, my name is Karen Quiros, and I am lucky enough to be the science resource teacher for the Chula Vista Elementary School District at the Living Coast Discovery Center. The Living Coast is a small environmental education center with sea turtles, sharks, snakes, eagles, and more located in South Bay, San Diego. Today's experience is titled Innovation Inspired by Nature, Arthropod Edition. And we are going to focus on how a huge group of animals called arthropods have inspired scientists and engineers to work together to create things that help people live better. When people look at nature to try and solve problems or create new technologies or products, it's called biomimicry. During my last two events, we looked at how engineers were inspired by reptiles and fish to create products that have improved our lives. Today, we're going to focus on some products that have been inspired by a group of animals called arthropods. Just like this clown beetle, which is a type of stink bug. It has an amazing ability to drink water from the air by collecting it on its body. Engineers were inspired by this ability to create a way to capture and reuse the excessive amount of water used and released by power plants, making this important process much more environmentally friendly. Thanks, nature. If you could become a bug, what kind of bug would you like to be and why? Please go ahead and write your response and why you would like to be that kind of bug in the question and answer section. I have my friends, Mr. Bruder and Mrs. Bystrack, helping me out today. They will be answering some questions right away, and I'll be answering some others throughout the lesson. I can't wait to hear your responses. As we study about innovations inspired by arthropods today, we have four main objectives. First, we are going to continue our understanding of biomimicry. We are going to become an entomologist and learn about the many types of arthropods. I have some of our animal ambassadors here at the Living Coast to help us with this objective. We are also going to explore some more examples of innovations inspired by the amazing abilities of arthropods. For example, the color shifting properties of this blue morpho butterfly have inspired technologies that have been able to be used on our money to enhance security. And finally, we'll become civil engineers to build a structure inspired by a bee. Today, we're going to try on two exciting careers. We will become entomologists today as we learn about arthropods. Entomologists are scientists who collect, study, and help protect and manage insects and some of their relatives. We will also become civil engineers when we build our insect-inspired building. Civil engineers design, supervise construction of major public works projects such as buildings, highways, airports, bridges, and dams. So, what is an arthropod? Well, let's review a bit. There are two main groups of animals, a group that has a backbone or a spine called vertebrates, and a group that does not have a backbone or a spine called invertebrates. Arthropods are invertebrates, part of the group of animals that do not have a backbone or a spine. Arthropods are actually the largest group of invertebrates, and they make up over 80% of all the animals on Earth. There are more than 1.2 million different species of arthropods. Most are pretty small, like a fruit fly, but some can be quite large, like the spiny lobster. With so much variety, what makes an arthropod an arthropod? Well, first, they're all invertebrates, so they don't have a spine. Then there are three more characteristics that all arthropods have. First, they all have jointed legs. Can you move your arm like this? Great. Your elbow is connecting your two arm bones and allowing them to move. So it's also called a joint. And we have joints all over our body. I bet you could name quite a few of them. How about your wrist or your fingers have three joints? All of these are joints and they have all over our body, but arthropods have them in their legs. The word arthropod actually means joint foot in Greek. Now, secondly, all arthropods have their bones on the outside of their body, called an exoskeleton. This sounds kind of strange because our bones are inside our body, But arthropods have a lot of predators, and so they having that hard shield, even covering their eyes and their antennae and their legs, is extremely important for their survival. The third characteristic of all arthropods is that their body has different segments or body parts. So if you look at the centipede, you can see that it has many separate segments on its body. Since there are so many types of arthropods, entomologists have organized them into 4 main groups: insects, crustaceans, myriapods, and arachnids. Insects are by far the largest group of arthropods. They make over 80% of all the arthropods, and they're the most diverse. I'm going to bring out our first animal ambassador and switch to my dot cam so that we can help learn a little bit more about insects. So check out this animal. This is a desert stink bug, also known as a clown beetle. It's called a clown beetle because they look pretty silly when they get scared, because they actually stick their rear end up into the air and they make a bad smell. However, like I mentioned earlier, it also gets into that same position to be able to collect moisture from the environment that will then slide down into its mouth for a drink. And yes, it is part of the stink bug family. However, if I don't make it feel threatened, it actually won't make a stink. Now remember, all arthropods have jointed legs, segments, and an exoskeleton. We can see that this beetle has joints on its legs. Can you count how many jointed legs it has? It's kind of hard when it's moving, but it has 6. All insects have 6 legs. Other kinds of arthropods have like need more or less types of legs, but if it's an insect, it always has 6. All insects also have 3 body segments. The first segment is the head, the middle segment is the thorax, and this large segment in the back is called the abdomen. All insects also have 2 antennae, which you can see it's using to kind of feel its way around. Many insects have wings as well, but not all of them. And I think that these clown beetles are the perfect example of insects because you can see their 6 legs, 3 body segments, and their antenna really well. Thanks for being a perfect insect specimen, clown beetle. I'm going to go ahead and put it back. And another group of arthropods is that you actually also might be familiar with are crustaceans. These are crabs, lobsters, and shrimp. And even though many of them live in water, they also have jointed legs, an exoskeleton, and segments as well. So they are arthropods, and I'm going to switch back to my dot cam so you can check out these awesome crabs. So these crabs are going to be some of the crustaceans that we have at the Living Coast Discovery Center. Let me go ahead and grab one so you can see it a little better. They're called yellow shore crabs, and they live right here along San Diego Bay. Crustaceans have some of the strongest exoskeletons, and they mostly live in water, so they actually have gills to breathe. They have many predators here, including shorebirds who have long beaks to dig in the mud and reach into their burrows. Many times they will hide under the rocks to try and avoid these predators. Their super hard exoskeletons and their ability to hide allow them to protect themselves. Now, crabs are decapods because they have 10 legs. 2 of them are their pinchers in the front here. But these yellow shore crabs usually keep their pinchers tucked in unless they're eating, so they can be handled very easily. Now, I noticed that this crab actually is missing one of its legs. And if they are missing a leg, they can actually regrow it when they molt. And molting is a process that they do when they have to take off their old exoskeleton and they grow a new one. When they do this, they actually can regrow their legs or their pinchers if they've been lost or broken off, And so each time they grow, they will get a little bit more of their leg back until they're completely whole. Now that is an awesome ability, I think. Thanks, Crabs, for teaching us about crustaceans. The one group of arthropods that you might not be too familiar with are the myriapods. Now, myriapods are some of the first land animals. Centipedes and millipedes are the most common animals in this group. Let's check out this video to learn a little bit more about the characteristics of these animals and how to tell them apart. The audio on this video is a little bit scratchy, but it's still an excellent video. Check it out.
We're back at the museum, and I get a lot of questions about centipedes and millipedes. People get these confused, so I thought we'd take a look. Now, actually, scientists kind of lump these together, but they are very different animals if you really want to take a look at them. So let's take a look at our first one, the centipede, and we'll tell you all about this guy. When we take a look at our centipede here, he has a very segmented body, and they have one pair of legs for each body segment. Now, they also have a set of fangs that the millipede doesn't have, but they're not true fangs. These are modified front legs of the centipede that act as fangs, and they're also quite capable of delivering a very, very painful bite with a little bit of venom involved. Now, a centipede can have up to probably well over 170 legs, but usually they have around 50, somewhere right in there. And you'll notice the legs are mounted on the side of the body, which is going to be a little bit different than our millipedes. Now, centipedes are also carnivores, so these guys will eat other insects, they'll eat other little small animals, lizards, just about anything they can catch and subdue with their venom. So these guys, carnivores, legs on the side, only about 100 legs altogether, the centipede. Now, our little millipede friend here has a segmented body, a lot like you saw with our centipede, but his legs are mounted on the underneath side. Now, these guys have a lot more legs than a centipede does. They actually have 2 pairs of legs per body segment. Now, a centipede only has 1 pair of legs per body segment. These guys also lack those front modified feet that serve as a fang because these guys are primarily a vegetarian. These guys feed on plant matter, fungi, dead vegetation, and that type of a thing. So they're a pretty inoffensive little guy. So now you know the difference between a centipede and a millipede.
So cool. There is one more group of arthropods that makes this one makes a lot of people a little bit nervous. This is the group of arthropods, and it includes spiders, scorpions, ticks, mites, and others. Even though some arachnids can be harmful, they have many incredible characteristics. Now, I have another really awesome example from the Living Coast Discovery Center to show you here. And we're going to learn a little bit more about arachnids. So this is a desert tarantula. Can you count her jointed legs? Go ahead. She's a little bit easier. She's not moving as much right now, but she has 8. But some of you might have actually counted these 2 smaller ones in the front. But those are actually called pedipalps, and they're not true legs. So they're mostly for kind of handling their prey, but they're not actually counted as true legs. So all arachnids have 8 legs, and they actually have 2 body segments instead of 3 like insects. So she has an abdomen back here, and then a cephalothorax in the front. So they have 2 segments instead of 3. They also don't have any antenna or wings, which is another difference between arachnids and insects. Tarantulas are super sensitive to vibrations in the ground, so they can sense their predators and their prey. They hunt at night and mostly eat insects, but will also eat small lizards or pretty much any other small animals that they can subdue that come into their path. Coyotes and some birds, snakes, and lizards will eat tarantulas. And so they have, one of their methods of protection is that they can flick their legs against their abdomen and they will flick hairs into the faces of their potential predators. These hairs are pretty irritating, so they can get into the nose and the eyes and then allow the tarantula to potentially escape. Arachnids do have an exoskeleton, but with a tarantula, it's actually covered with hairs. So when they molt, they actually grow new hairs along with their new exoskeleton. Thank you so much for helping us learn about arachnids, the desert tarantula. Very cool. All right. So, Mr. Bruder, I think this might be a pretty good time for us to check in with our viewers and see what kind of bugs they would like to become and why. Would you please go ahead and let us hear some of their responses? I can also answer any questions about any of our animal ambassadors that we just talked about as well.
Hey, Mrs. Q. Yeah, these questions and comments were coming in quick, so we're doing our best to keep up with all of them.
Oh, great.
I have to tell you, the first one was from Mrs. Gonzalez's class, and they were just saying, so cool, all the different things that you're sharing with us today.
Yay.
One of the insects that was mentioned was the butterfly. A lot of people shared that they wanted to be able to fly and the vibrant colors. I mean, we had Sienna, Josephine, Mrs. Farlow's class, Miss Rivera's class, Miss Kohler's class, all love the butterfly.
I do too. I'm with you.
We also had a few people mention a cricket, being able to try to camouflage, a centipede, a bee as well.
To jump really high with like a cricket also.
Yeah, and I would say the two most popular answers other than butterfly were spider. Lucas, McKenna, Elias, Ms. Kohler's class mentioned a spider.
Cool.
And then one more was the ladybug. Adriana, Charlotte, Genesis, Melina, whole bunch of people thought that was one of the ones that they would want to be.
Oh, I'm excited. Being a bug would be an incredible experience. You can imagine the kind of this huge world around you. It would look a lot different than our world, I think.
There was a question we were hoping you could answer.
Oh, I hope so.
I believe with the crab you mentioned about that their legs could grow back. Angel from Roar was wondering how long that takes.
That's a great question. So when they molt, they go kind of soft and they go squishy and they kind of have to puff their bodies up, and then their new exoskeleton hardens. So they'll grow back and then they harden in just one day. It's pretty amazing. 2 days is completely hardened, but after a day they get completely hard, or pretty much hard again. And so for growing their legs back, they might take a couple of molts to actually grow them fully. They'll kind of start as like a small little nub and then it'll get bigger each time they molt. So I might say, I don't know, maybe a couple months, maybe a year, depending on how much they molt, because they'll molt their entire lives. When they're small, they molt a lot. And when they're big, they kind of molt less often. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those fun responses. And many of the reasons that you gave for wanting to become a bug are the same reasons that entomologists love their jobs. They find them fascinating. And when they work with engineers together, they are inspired to dream up some innovations that can help us by taking some of their characteristics or abilities of arthropods and taking them on ourselves. So I happen to have a game that we're going to play. So now that you know about arthropods and the 4 main kinds, we're going to look at some of their amazing inventions. I'm going to show you an invention, and then you're going to go ahead and choose if it was inspired by an insect, a crustacean, a myriapod, or an arachnid. Ready? Here we go. Just shout them out at the screen. What type of arthropod inspired this structure? Insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? What do you think inspired someone to build this structure? Is it insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? Arachnids is correct for this one. This structure is in the Olympic Park in Munich, Germany, and was designed by Frey Otto. He created many structures, actually using the cable net architecture that he developed after studying and replicating the properties of spider webs. He won a prize for these lightweight, strong structures. Let's try another one. What type of arthropod inspired this microbot? Micro-robot, insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? Which one do you think inspired someone to create this micro-robot? Insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? If you said myriapods, you're correct. This tiny robot was inspired by a centipede, and it's really good at climbing, and it's more stable than other robots that don't have segments in their machinery. It can be used for search and rescue missions, hazardous environment exploration, and surveillance. Let's go for this one. What type of arthropod inspired this tiny camera? Insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? This one's a little bit tricky, and it's very small. Which type of arthropod do you think inspired this tiny camera? An insect is correct for this one. This camera was actually inspired by the eye of a bark beetle. Insects have compound eyes, which means, check it out, they have about 1,000 eyes on each eyeball. This allows them to have like 2,000 eyes instead of 2 like we do. And what happens is these are going to allow them to see movement around them to get away from their predators. And they also can see a special kind of light called ultraviolet light, as well as being able to see kind of a wide vision. So they can get and find their food. John Rogers, who is an engineer, studied the eyes of a bark beetle and created a miniature camera that can actually go inside the human body or be used for surveillance. Pretty cool, I think. How about another one? What type of arthropod inspired the material of this cell phone? What do you think? Insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? This one's a little bit challenging because it really could be any of them because they all have an exoskeleton. However, I'm going to give you a hint. I want you to think of the type of arthropod that has the strongest exoskeleton and they mostly live in water. Did you get it? Crustaceans. The Motorola i560 cell phone material was inspired by a crustacean, the exoskeleton of a lobster. A lobster's tough outer shell is actually made of hard and soft layers of chitin combined with calcium carbonate. So engineers designed the covering to have hard and soft layers of kind of like a rubber-like plastic. This made it super strong, and it actually met military standards for withstanding shock, dust, vibration, and temperature variation. Pretty impressive. Last one, let's try this one. What type of arthropod inspired this bird-resistant glass? Insects, crustaceans, myriapods, or arachnids? So we can see with our view, it just looks like a clear window. But when a bird looks at it, they see these lines in it, so they avoid it. So what kind of arthropod do you think inspired this bird-resistant glass? It's arachnids again. It turns out spiderweb is incredibly inspiring. Not only did it inspire structures, it has also provided a way to protect birds from getting injured when they accidentally fly into windows. The orb spider's silk contains ultraviolet reflective properties. And humans, we can't see this ultraviolet light, but most insects and many birds can. Therefore, designers from Arnold Glass were able to coat glass with a UV protective sheet. And that appears clear to humans, but does not look clear to birds, so they avoid it. This type of glass can save the lives of hundreds of thousands of birds each day. Pretty amazing. All right, well done. Aren't arthropods inspiring? I would love to hear your thoughts about these innovations. So which innovation was your favorite so far and why? And if you can think of something that maybe popped into your head that maybe you would create that would be inspired by one of these arthropods, go ahead and put your responses into the question and answer section, and I'm going to check back later. So I want to hear which was your favorite invention or innovation so far, and if there's any innovations that you've kind of popped into your head that maybe be inspired by an arthropod. Now I have one more arthropod inspired invention to tell you about, and it's a structure that was inspired by the honeycomb of a bee. So check it out. The government staff in New York City was looking for a way to house the many homeless people in their city. Architects from FranLab were inspired by the way bees maximize the vertical space with their honeycomb, and they're very strong. And so they were able to create this idea of hexagonal pods that could be built on the side of buildings. They don't take much space, and they're also very strong, and they could give many people a living space off the street. So government officials worked with civil engineers to make these honeycomb pods a reality. I think this is fantastic. Now, one of the main reasons that this idea worked was because the shape of the honeycomb is strong. In order to demonstrate the strength of this shape, we are going to become civil engineers now and build a model of this honeycomb structure. Now, before we build, these are the materials that you're going to need. So you're going to need 14 miniature marshmallows, 37 toothpicks, 1 paper plate, 20 pennies. So go ahead and make sure you have all your materials ready right now. So if you're going to build with me today, if you don't have them now, don't worry. You can follow along now, and then you can watch this again and build with me later. You might be wondering, why aren't we going to build a square structure? Well, most of the buildings that we see are square and they're strong, but they're on the ground. So the pods that were inspired by the honeycomb, they're not on the ground. They're kind of hanging on the side of a wall, so there isn't that same support underneath. That's why engineers use the hexagonal shape for these pods so that they would have that improved strength. I want to show you the strength of a square shape. So I built one and I tested its strength by adding pennies. So let's check out this video to see how strong the square shaped structure is. All right.
Rectangular structure test.
Go ahead and put the plate on top of our structure and add the pennies.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Starting to go. 7. Ooh, 7 pennies is the maximum for this square structure.
Okay, so 7 pennies is the maximum that the square shape could hold. So let's build a hexagonal structure and then we'll test the strength. You ready? I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my dot cam so we can build together. There we go. So you should have marshmallows and some toothpicks ready to go right now. So we're going to start by taking 3 of our toothpicks and 3 of our marshmallows. And we're going to build a triangle shape first. So go ahead and poke your toothpicks like this into the marshmallows, and we're going to make a triangular structure, or just make a triangle. All right, so we have our first triangle. Now we're actually going to make another triangle right next to it. So from this middle one, we're going to go ahead and stick another toothpick in and a marshmallow at the end, and we're going to build another side of our hexagon. Now hexagons have 6 sides, so we've now done 2 sides of our hexagon. But this has 6, so we're gonna now, this is gonna be our middle of our hexagon. So we're gonna stick in another toothpick, and we're gonna make another side to our hexagon. Another triangle becomes that 3rd side of our hexagon. And here will be our 4th side. So we're going to put a marshmallow in and make that triangle again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, which are actually the 4 sides of this hexagon. And then we have 2 more sides. We're going to stick 1 more toothpick in, 1 marshmallow at the end, and we can make 2 more sides from this. So we're going to stick 1 on this side, 1 on this side, and then finish off our hexagon. There we go. So we have 1, side of our hexagonal pod. That would be one side of the wall where they would be able to live. So now we're going to actually make a second hexagon. So let's start with our triangle. 3 marshmallows and 3 toothpicks to make a triangle. There we go. And we're just going to keep, this will be our middle here. So we're going to make our second side by adding another marshmallow here. And then another one as well. Mr. Bruder, maybe we could ask about some responses to our question as we're kind of building the second wall of our hexagon shape here. What do you think?
Definitely. I have to ask you, do you want to hear about the innovations that were people's favorite, or do you want to hear about their ideas?
Oh my goodness, we have
potential
some good
innovations.
ideas. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and hear about one of their favorites.
Okay. I would have to say the most popular one was the glass because of how it saves birds' lives. I know we had multiple classes like Mrs. Escobar's class, Olympic View 2nd grade, Matthew, Layla, all mentioned they really appreciate that innovation.
Right? Isn't it amazing? Just a simple step like coating the glass with something that doesn't even affect the humans, and yet we can save hundreds of thousands of birds' lives every single day. That is fascinating. Let me pause just for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and go on to our next step. So we have our 2 hexagons, and we're actually going to be sticking them together now. So we're going to take a toothpick and we're going to stick it just right into the middle. So it's kind of coming straight up out of that 1. I'm going to say this is hexagon 1, and then we're going to kind of put it right into hexagon 2 like this. So we're going to kind of put them side by side. It gets a little floppy right now, but don't worry, as we add our kind of toothpicks together, it'll get stronger and stronger. So instead of going straight across, we're actually going to go diagonally. So we're going to kind of make like a zigzag shape and triangles along the way. So we're going to go ahead and put 1 toothpick into that first hexagon and then kind of go over to the second one in a diagonal shape like that. And then we're going to go ahead and go from hexagonal 1, hexagon 2, and now we're going to go from 2 back to 1. So you're going to go ahead and make a triangle by putting hexagon kind of coming back this way. So we put 1 and now I put another one this way. Now we're going to kind of turn it a little bit and we're going to continue going all the way around. So now we're going to go from 1 to 2. Remember I said it gets a little floppy and it's okay. It will get stronger, I promise. So we did 1, 2, 3, and we've made 2 new triangles. And now we're going to go ahead and go back the other way. So 1, 2, 3, 4 across, and now we're going to go back and connect from 1 to 2. And we're going to just keep kind of turning it and adding those diagonals. Do you want to go ahead and share one more response of a favorite, Mr. Bruder?
You know, instead of doing that, I was wondering if you could answer a question for us.
Sure, I'll try.
Do you have some thoughts as far as like alternate materials, just in case they don't have toothpicks? I know I've done this before, like spaghetti noodles. They're a little more fragile, but
oh yeah.
Any other possibilities?
Yeah, if you have Play-Doh instead of the marshmallows, absolutely. You could use Play-Doh or clay, and maybe even like gumballs or gum worms, you know, those little gumdrops. That would be kind of a fun one too. And then yeah, spaghetti noodles, maybe popsicle sticks if you could kind of, those might be a little big, but would just be a bigger structure. So yeah, if you have any other suggestions, that would be great as well. So you see, continue doing the zigzag all along the edge. I think we have one more to do here. And that will complete our hexagonal shape. Woohoo, we did it. Looking good. All right, so hopefully you're pretty close to being done with your hexagonal shape. We're gonna go ahead and put it here. And now it's time to test the strength. So remember, I have some pennies here, but you can really kind of use anything to add your weight to your structure here if you want to. but pennies are what we used before, and we had 7 was our maximum, remember, that we could use for this for the square shape. So now let's see how many we can do with our hexagonal structure. There's 1, count with me, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, we already passed the square shape. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh my goodness, I told you to have 20 pennies available, and ta-da! This structure is still standing with 20 pennies, and I think we could probably actually go for more. However, if you want to keep going, I know I kind of want to, but if you do, have your teacher email me and let me know how many your hexagonal structure was able to hold. Pretty cool. It's definitely stronger than the square structure. Those bees really know what they're doing when they build their honeycombs. Now, it is so cool that scientists and engineers learn how to build something that can help us, right? Just by looking at a bee. All right, friends, guess what? It is now time to test your knowledge with a Kahoot. So go ahead and open up a separate window so you can see the questions on this one, and then you'll enter your answers on the other. So go to www.kahoot.it and enter this pin 1560576. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my Kahoot here while we get everyone coming on in. All right, so Mr. Bruder, while we're getting our viewers to join, can you go ahead and share some more of their, I'm so excited to hear some of their innovation ideas, definitely.
Hey, Mrs. Q, sure, yeah, I could share some of them over here. And then just for everybody, in case you didn't catch it, the game pin is 1560576.
Correct.
Another one of the favorites was the exoskeleton inspiring the cell phone design. I know Angel, Josephine, and Jax all shared that. I may have had one of those cell phones in my life as well.
Maybe a little bit while ago. I think it was pretty cutting edge technology when it first came out, but our cell phones have definitely upgraded since then, for sure.
Another one was the robot one. Lucas was sharing about the micro robot that you talked about.
Excellent. I think that's pretty fascinating how tiny it was. It was about the size of a penny.
And then the centipede inspired one and the phone one was shared by Mrs. Farlow's 3rd grade class.
Cool. Thanks, friends, for go ahead and responding so well to that. Are there any innovations that they came up with as well?
Well, I had one more favorite.
Oh, good. Okay.
Kind of. Charlotte said she loved all of them. She thought they were all cool. So.
I'm glad you loved them. That's why I put them in here for this presentation, because I was pretty fascinated by all of them too. Thanks, Charlotte.
But I know you asked as far as some other innovation ideas. One of them was from Mrs. Del Busto's 2nd grade class. They talked about the body of a roly-poly maybe could inspire a backpack protector.
Ooh, that is very cool. It's almost like the tortoise shell that we kind of mentioned in our reptile event. Definitely a backpack would be amazing, because then you could almost like roll into a ball too. Super cool.
And then another one that Layla shared was a car that can move like a centipede.
Oh, I'm ready. Sign me up. I want one for sure. I hope you build it.
It's a lot of tires to replace, though.
That would be a lot of tires. Maybe some of them could be, I don't know, skates or something.
So, Mrs. Q, we had a question I wanted to share with you that we were hoping you could add that was shared. It was about the tarantulas. What did you share they eat?
So they'll eat pretty much anything that crosses their path at night, mostly insects like crickets and grasshoppers and kind of other spiders, but they might even eat a lizard, and sometimes there are some that actually will eat like birds if they can subdue them. Pretty impressive.
Why the larger animals like the lizards and the birds?
I think they're just kind of opportunistic hunters. So when they're out hunting and they find something that they are able to subdue with their venom, they go for it. So if it's going to hurt them, they're going to avoid it. But definitely, if they can think that they're not going to get injured by trying to subdue it, then they'll go for it because, hey, they're hungry and they have to eat when they can find something.
Well, thank you for answering that for us. I think we're about ready to get this Kahoot game going.
All right, sounds good. Let's go for it. I love these names too. Here we go. Are you ready? Innovation inspired by nature, Arthropod edition. In 3, 2, 1. What type of scientist studies arthropods? What do you think? What type of scientist studies arthropods? Red triangle, ichthyologist. Blue diamond, ornithologist. Yellow circle, entomologist. Or green square, herpetologist. What type of scientist studies arthropods, these amazing arthropods? Red triangle, ichthyologist. Blue diamond, ornithologist. Yellow circle, entomologist, or green square, herpetologist. Remember, anyone can become this type of career and study these amazing arthropods. Red triangle, ichthyologist. Blue diamond, ornithologist. Yellow circle, entomologist, or green square, herpetologist. Get them in. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, yay! Entomologist is correct. We've talked about ichthyologists who study fish, and ornithologists study birds, and herpetologists study reptiles. But today we talked and became entomologists as we studied the arthropods. Let's see how our viewers did. Amiable Oryx, very close in the beginning, right after, and Fabulous Bee right after. And Silly Lion, Awesome Yeti, and Fearless Ibex. Well done. All right, next question. Here we go. All arthropods have, what do they all have? Red triangle antenna, blue diamond, an exoskeleton, yellow circle, wings, or green square, 100 legs. What do all arthropods have? What makes an arthropod an arthropod? Red triangle antenna, blue diamond, an exoskeleton, yellow circle, wings, or green square, 100 legs. What makes an arthropod an arthropod? Major characteristic. Red triangle antenna, blue diamond and exoskeleton, yellow circle wings, or green square, 100 legs. 5 more seconds, get your answers in. And yay, well done, you rocked that one. An exoskeleton is absolutely correct. And how are we doing? Ooh, Amiable Oryx stayed in there first place, and Fabulous Bee in second. Well done, Silly Lion, Wise Lark, and Blue Kitten. And Adorable Alpaca, well done, you went up 24 places. Here we go, next question. How many legs do arachnids have? How many legs do arachnids have? True legs. So red triangle 6, blue diamond 4, yellow circle 10, or green square 8. How many legs do arachnids have? Remember my desert tarantula friend. How many legs do arachnids have? Red triangle 6, blue diamond 4, yellow circle 10, or green square 8. How many legs do arachnids have? Pretty cool to be able to see a tarantula up close today, huh? All right, get those answers in. You have about 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. And the answer is, woohoo, 8. Absolutely. Arachnids have 8 true legs. Excellent, excellent. And, ooh, fabulous bee took the lead. Silly lion, well done. Wise lark, excellent. Silly panda, smooth tiger, and flying falcon. You just jumped 35 places. Well done. Here we go. Question number 4. What was inspired by the eyes of an arthropod? Remember the innovation that was inspired by those compound eyes? Was it a red triangle camera, blue diamond robot, yellow circle phone, or green square window? Which one was inspired by the eyes of an arthropod? Remember, they have these amazing compound eyes that are able to see very wide view and be able to find their food and see the movement to get away from their predators. So did that inspire red triangle a camera, blue diamond a robot, yellow circle a phone, or green square a window? What was inspired by the eyes of an arthropod? Camera, 5 more seconds, robot, phone, or window. Get your answers in. A camera! You rocked it. Well done. All right, let's see how our leaders are doing. Silly lion took the lead. Wise lark, well done. Epic wildcat, swift phoenix, and fabulous bee is back up there. Excellent. And woohoo, well done. Here we go, friends. Last question. Using nature to solve problems is called, dun, da, da, da. Using nature to solve problems is called red triangle biomimicry, blue diamond biology, yellow circle architecture, or green square naturalist. What have we been studying about this year? We have been studying about how nature is used to solve problems. So using nature to solve problems is called red triangle biomimicry, blue diamond biology, yellow circle architecture, or green square naturalist. What do you think? How using nature to solve problems? What is that called? And we've been studying about it with fish and reptiles, and today we used arthropods. Next one, you're going to be seeing birds and how they have been super inspiring. All right, get your answers in. Last chance. Woohoo! Biomimicry. Well done, well done. All right. And 3rd place goes to, with 3,742 points, Swift Sphinx. Very good. And Silly Lion, 2nd place. And 1st place goes to, dun, da, 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 Wise Lark. Well done, all of you. And runners-up, Epic, Wild, and Purple. I can't see your names, but well done to our runners-up as well. You rocked it. Excellent, my friends. Thank you so much for playing. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed meeting some of our amazing arthropods today and learning about the innovations that they have inspired. If you want to see more of our animal ambassadors, you can check out my Creature Close-Ups with Mrs. Q YouTube playlist. The link's in the chat right now. Also, the Living Coast is open now from Thursday to Sunday, and you can come and meet some of our animal ambassadors in person. If you've missed any of our live events, or if you would like to watch them again, please visit our Innovation and Instruction YouTube channel. All of the videos are there along with other cool resources. The link to the channel is in the question and answer section now. And exciting news, in 2 weeks on January 28th, Mr. Garcia from the Innovation Station will be presenting his live lesson titled Engineering Rocket Ships. This will be a hands-on interactive experience, so don't miss it. Thanks so much for attending. Bye for now.